All right, we're going on to this Q&A. Again, we're going to the Q&A. So the one follow-up question we spoke about on Thursday, and that someone had asked about about the war of Gog and Magog and different aspects of how it could happen. Whatever, is there a difference between this world? There's going to be a major difference between this world and that world, right? After the Messiah comes. So when we spoke about different aspects, one, we'll see now. The follow-up question, I guess, is one I didn't deal with, and that was again how the war Gog and Magog, is going to start. Nobody knows, right? So someone asked, could it begin, with an asteroid hitting the Earth, or maybe another planet, coming in contact with Earth, or stuff to do with the North Pole, global warming, any of these things. Anyone's guess, as good as mine. There are two aspects, right? I just want to make clear. There are two aspects. One aspect is the fact that the Messiah is going to come. Certain things he's going to do, right? He's going to rebuild the temple. He has to bring in gathering the exiles, right? That's what he has to do, among other things. And after that, whoever survives, only a third are going to survive, a third are going to be injured, third are going to be killed. So it sounds like a major bloodbath. Whoever survives, but even so, whoever survives, after that, then there's a question: when is Olam Haba? When it's considered like the next world start? The reward for keeping the mitzvahs, right, etc. Resurrection of the dead, right, and the end of the world, right? So seemingly, I would think, there's major disagreements here, but I would assume that the order would be that the world has the Messiah come, right? The Messiah comes, does what he needs to do. And then after 6,000 years, right, every day of creation was 1,000 years, the Ramban says and others say. So you got 6,000 years, the world has to be destroyed, right? You have 1,000 years of Shabbos, which, I don't know, sounds like we'll, be flying around with wings, spiritual beings, not exactly sure. And then you have the world rebuilt, and then you have resurrection of the dead, right? That's what would seem would be the order, but again, nobody knows for sure. So the Messiah coming had nothing to do necessarily with when the world and how the world, is going to be destroyed. It could happen, any number, of different ways. But could it happen this way? Global warming, the polar ice caps, and melt, and carbon emissions, and greenhouse effects, and all this thing. Yeah, that could happen. Could happen. A big asteroid or planet, destroying Earth. That could happen, right? But don't make a mistake and say, well, that's going to lead to the beginning of the war of Gog and Magog. Not true. The war of Gog and Magog is a different issue. 100% different issue. Yeah. There is going to be living in the world after that. That's what it sounds like. What it's going to be like, it's going to be exactly the same as we have it now, right? These are all good questions, right? We don't have any good answers, but, these are all good questions. Now, that being said, the question, I guess the follow-up question, which I didn't necessarily address, was the following. Question was, now the assumption the person is making is like the Rambam. Now the next world, right, is going to come after this, and seemingly not going to be different, right, or radically different from what's going on now. Okay. even if that's true, with a major difference of opinion, what that's going to look like. And even after resurrection of the dead, what type of body person's going to be. It's not going to be the same body we know, but right, the whole question about that also. But the question was, after a government's return, this again would be according to the Rambam, that'd be, seemingly no difference between, now and then, except the fact that we won't have an evil inclination. So everybody will be doing, God's will. But in any case, the question was, after, let's say, this return of government, after this asteroid impact, yeah, what about currency? What are we going to do about currency? Yeah. What about Bitcoin? We're not going to be one currency. So no idea. No idea if anyone's really going to have to work. Everything's going to be given to us. It's going to be the same as it is today. Right? It's very hard to say. Very, very hard to say. Could there be one, could there be one, currency for everybody all over if we're going to need currency? Could be. Maybe not complicate things and have different currencies in different places, however, whatever the world looks like and however big it is, right? Use one currency. Doesn't have to be that way. Doesn't have to be that way. It certainly doesn't make it easier, I think, in some ways, right? Depending on, what connection we have with other parts of the world, whatever, whatever we're doing. It's hard to imagine, even according to the Rambam, and the Rambam says shouldn't be that much difference, right? Still doing God's will, in all that, what are we going to make of the world in general? If the Rambam says, everything going to go according to plan, the way it is, okay, so I guess we'll need money. I guess we'll need jobs. Yeah. Others don't say that. Others say it's going to be a totally different world. But again, if you don't have an evil inclination, right, we'll set it up two ways. If you don't have an evil inclination, you're only doing God's will. Very good. If you're only doing God's will, do we need the world the way it is right now? And that'd be the question, right? If you have an evil inclination, other things going on, maybe you need the world the way it is, right? For a person to struggle, go through different things, right? Could be. It could be, but if the evil inclination gets destroyed, right? This is, the angel of death, the evil inclination, whatever you want to call him. Mr. S is on his last legs. So he gets totally destroyed. So if Mr. S gets totally destroyed, then whoever's left in the world, they're going to struggle like we are now. Right? That's the whole point we're here. Right? The whole point is I'm here to toil. I'm here to have tests. Right? The biggest test at the end of days is Amunah. It's working on our faith and belief in God. Very good. Right? So if that's true, right, you would tell me, as someone here points out, very good, no greed, no desire for materialism, right? You won't care about money, right? Very good. Right? That's true. That's true. So the question is, with all that being true, right, then what would I need, what would I need a job for? What do I need, anything. Any of the things that we go through that make us struggle. Health issues, livelihood, use livelihood, right, as an example. Or family, you're not going to have these problems. These are not going to be struggles anymore. You don't need them. Right? The whole point of being in this world is to toil. That is the point. Sometimes we do it better, sometimes not. We struggle. We struggle on a daily basis. So if we struggle on a daily basis, these struggles will be taken away. They'll totally be taken away. So if the struggles will be taken away, then I would need these other things. Seemingly, what are you going to need money for? What are you going to need these other things for? Again, if, according to the Rambam, that's not going to be that much, that much of a difference, what it's going to look like, then, and how it's going to look now, then, it's kind of, it's kind of hard to imagine because all these things, they're all tests. And there aren't going to be any tests. So now, it could be. Someone will say, well, maybe someone will have a better, some will have it worse. But for them, even if they have it worse, it's not a test for them. You could look at it that way and say it's not a test for them. Why? Because they don't have, because their evil inclination is not telling them to do this or do that or feel good or feel bad or whatever. Everyone's going to be doing God's will and understand if I have more, good, right? If I have less, also good. Not going to worry about it. Not going to worry about it either way, right? So you can look at it, that way. So, according to that, if we don't have an evil inclination, could be maybe some prayers will change, right? One of the things we say every day, we say in the morning, don't bring me to tests, don't bring me to trials, don't bring me to tribulations, right? In this world, we understand without them, you don't grow. Okay. But then that wouldn't make sense to say that. You're not going to have any. As someone once told me, said, yeah, coming back to Israel, even if they survive, it's too cold, it's this, it's that. I'm like, but at the end of the day, you're going to be doing God's will. You're not going to care, right? It's hard to imagine a state of a person without an evil inclination. Very, very, it's impossible to even imagine such a thing. We'll always do the right thing. We'll always go the right path. There won't be any questions. There won't be any questions. That state of mind, in that atmosphere, it's very hard to fathom, right? I say it's very hard to fathom because, in general, it's something, it's something where this is everyday life. This is what we go through. This is what makes us who we are. So, in essence, if that's what makes us who we are, then it's going to look totally different, right? That would be the assumption. Because now, if there's no evil inclination, and we're going back to the world the way it was before Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, right? Which Ramchal discusses in Derech Hashem, right? Towards the beginning. So it's a different world. Because you're going to know, you're going to know what's out there. You're going to know what affects you, what doesn't affect you, how it affects you. It's going to be a different world. So, that's the world God originally set up. That obviously mankind messed up. Even though Adam understood that, if we take the evil inclination from within, put it inside of ourselves, and what happens? You do the right thing exponentially, elevate the body, elevate the soul. If you do the wrong thing, just the opposite, right? You debase the body, debase the soul, right? God understood that. God said, very good, so it wasn't a problem. I didn't create the world for that. I didn't want the world for that, right? Even though it's true, even though no one's going to disagree, you can either grow or not grow spiritually, exponentially, have an evil inclination part of us, okay? Right? But once you don't have that evil inclination, what does the world look like? Right? That's the crux of the issue. What does the world look like? Or let's say better, how do you view the world now? Right? But whoever survives is going to view the world the same way. It's mind-boggling. Won't be any left, any right. Everyone will be doing exactly what God wants. Because we won't have this evil inclination. They won't try and, give Webster's a definition about different things. They're not going to do that. They're going to be interested in doing that, doing exactly what God wants them to do and how he wants them to do them. And that is something we can't fathom. Because every second of every day is disagreements, the left, the right, the middle, this, that, all these things. Lashon hara, people speaking battle against others, that's all you have. That's what you have in the world. Strife. People die young. People die horrifically. People have diseases, all kinds of things. All kinds of things that make up this world that we live in today. That mankind is totally messed up. Okay, now imagine everyone doing God's will. That's hard to imagine. I'm not saying it can't happen. Definitely not saying that. I'm just saying it's hard to imagine that everyone's going to be in the exact same path. Right? They're going to start have the same mindset. And they're all going to be going in the same direction, right? That's unbelievable. Even within Orthodox, you don't have that per se. I mean, they agree with, with the majority tenets of Judaism and this and that, okay. Some sing and dance a little bit more, some don't, different dress, some have, a few different customs here and there, okay. Right? But also have disagreements. Also have disagreements, okay, but then it's going to be clarity. There's going to be absolute clarity. Right now, you close your mind, close your eyes, you imagine such a thing. It's hard to imagine, right? Again, I'm not saying it can't happen, right? But it'd be an unbelievable thing where everybody around you, whoever's left, right? I don't know how many people are going to be left, right? But whoever's left will all be thinking the same thing. We'll all be going in the same path. All be singing God's praise, God's glory, all this. Tremendous. It just, it sounds like a pipe dream, right? I mean, the prophets talk about it. Definitely talk about it. And say it's going to be a totally different world. Even, question by animals, interesting. The whole question about animals. Animals are programmed, right? So, the prophet says you got, wolves lying with sheep or whatever, and everyone's happy. So that would seem to say God changes its nature. But the animal doesn't change its nature. Animals programmed. The only time you saw, an animal change its nature was during the flood. That was the only time. That was really the only time that man's actions had power over animals. Because that's why animals are punished. Except for the fish. Except for the fish. But all other animals, God wanted whatever animals to survive came into the ark. Very good. Right? And the other animals are destroyed. Right? So, we said, that's what we mentioned. That's what we mentioned on Tuesday. It's mind-boggling thing because animals can't change their nature. And, animals are programmed. Doesn't mean, animals can choose to eat, not eat this and that, but essentially they're programmed. They only have one aspect of the soul, right? What we call the nefesh behemoth. They only have the animalistic soul. So essentially they're programmed. Now, question is, if you have carnivorous animals and they're busy, trying to survive and, chasing and eating other animals and this and that, how do we say, as the prophets say, that's not going to happen? So what does it sound like? Tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like their nature changes. God changes their nature. Anyone who's carnivorous, they're not going to be carnivorous anymore. That's what it sounds like. They're not going to be chasing other animals. Their nature changes, right? Seemingly, that's what it sounds like. Now you say, well, man's nature also changes. You'll say man's nature also changes. Yeah, it changes one aspect. And the one aspect that changes is we do not, that free will that we had, now it's gone. Right? That free will will be taken away. And we'll all be doing God's will. There won't be an evil inclination. There won't be, people doing things against what God wants. So man also changes, to a certain extent. It's, it's one aspect, but it's like the essence of who we are because we're the only being in the world that's free will. Even though free will just, on this topic, free will is limited, right? There's so many things we're not in control of. The only question we're in control of is how we react. So there are things we do ourselves. We make mistakes, right? God forbid, so we put ourselves in certain situations. There are ramifications. As we always say, there are ramifications of what we do, which is true. There are ramifications for what we do. But essentially, there are so many things we're not in control of, right? We're not in control of where, as Bishop Birkhoff says, you're born against your will, you die against your will, right? Kaufman would say, in parentheses, you still have to live. So we don't have a choice who our parents are, siblings are, socioeconomic situation, a lot of things we're not in control of. But he goes, hey, but don't we have free will? We have free will. We absolutely have free will. It's limited, right? Definitely limited. Even though people say, hey, I can choose to do this, choose to do that, choose to do it, other things. True. We can make choices. No one's saying you can't make choices, right? But the choices we make, what are they influenced by? What I think. Okay, who am I? What I think. My soul, very good. Where'd my soul come from? Came from God, very good. Now, does that mean I'm always into what God wants? No. It's because of what I do. It's because of the evil inclination. Right? So therefore, there's so many things that can trigger a person to do different things. So you can say, well, God wanted you to kill this person. No, he didn't, per se. You did it. God used you to do it. Okay. Yeah, but the evil inclination came over you. Other factors are involved. But at the end of the day, is the person guilty? If you want to say God put the idea in his head and whatever, and he went with this evil inclination, is he guilty? He's guilty. Right, but we say, there are a lot of, what do you call it? A lot of messengers that God has. So even if God uses that person to get to you, they're still guilty. Whatever they did wrong, they're still guilty, no question. Right? So you say, but God can control our thoughts. Yeah, I can. But you don't see very often in history at all, that we say by kings live melochim biyad Hashem. The hearts of kings are in the hands of God. So God's controlling, that aspect of what goes on, behind the scenes, convincing, leaders and whatever to do whatever he wants them to do. They think they're doing on their own, this and that, but he's pulling the strings. Essentially, he's pulling the strings. Now, the only time in history we hear of such a thing where somebody's free will is taken away, you see that by Pharaoh. That's pretty clear. Torah says a number of times, I'm going to harden his heart. Right? So if you harden Pharaoh's heart, you can't punish him. Took away his free will. Very good. So the Rambam deals with that. Rav Saadia deals with that. Others, deal with that. Why to get punished and so severely? But Rabbi says something interesting. He says that when we do certain things, how do we know we're not acting and what we're doing is only because our free will has really been taken away? We don't see that per se. Depends how a person spirals and what's going on inside, but a person's not going to see it that way. They're going to say, okay, you made this choice, you made that choice, bad choice, whatever. What convinced the person to make a choice? Yeah, it's a big question. We're going to say, it's based on how you grew up. It's based on things you saw. It's going to be based on things that happened to you. Things that people said to you. We're affected by our environment, better or for worse. We can fight against our environment. We fight against people around us, bad people around us. Not so easy. But every human's complicated. The Gemara says, we say, the Gemara, the Mishnah Sanhedrin says, Bishvili nivra olam. For me, the world is created, i.e., for me and not for you, right? But for me, the world is created. What does that mean? That means each person's their own world. And each person extremely complicated. And we all have stories, what we've gone through. Better things, worse things. There are people going through horrific things. Some people more, some people less. Gone through tragedies. So the question is reaction. You see people, see a loved one, crippling disease. You see them wither away, very hard to see. Or, even worse, a loved one gets dementia. Or they get, what do you call it, Alzheimer's. So, their mind is like Swiss cheese. You can't bring them back. They don't recognize anybody. Can't do anything on their own. It's a game changer, right? Hard to see such a thing. Or someone gets, God forbid, a dreaded disease of what they go through. That affects the person. You can say, I didn't ask for that. You're right. And a lot of these things, when it comes to medical things, for sure, you're not in control. You can say, people can claim, eat this, eat that. This can cause, this can cause things. Other things can cause, they don't know. They can't say 100%, they can theorize. Anyone can theorize and say, yeah, if you eat too much of this or too much of that or whatever, it could lead to this. It could. Yeah, they're not guaranteed. Definitely not a guarantee. And we can speak, for days, about how bad smoking is and this and that. Someone can smoke 10 packs a day and live till they're 90, right? You can't explain that. Tell a doctor, explain that, say you got lucky. You can't explain it according to nature. According to nature, that doesn't make sense, right? Because it's gonna, we know the effects. We know the bad effects of it. Okay. Right? So why does that happen? Because God keeps them alive. Why? I can't answer. But according to nature, it shouldn't happen. Right? So seeing things like that or whatever, they have an effect. Even if we don't necessarily emote from it, right? It's there. It's part of our subconscious. It has an effect deep down. We don't necessarily see how it affects. Sometimes it does. And sometimes it comes out. Sometimes it comes out in other ways. Right? The problem is, and we mentioned many times, the problem is that what we see, what we hear, all these things affect who we are. Right? And not only that, what's inside of us becomes part of us. Once it becomes part of us, it's very hard to fight. Very hard to fight against. These things can happen against our will, and we can do things to ourselves. We can do, bad things to ourselves in order that what has a negative effect. Right? It's not everything that's, surrounding us. Say, well, God's putting you in these situations. Let's see how you're going to react. There are things we do ourselves as well. Plenty of things. Right? The Ramban in Job, I think, when the book of Job says, when his friends are chastising him, and they say, oh, he must have done this, he must have done that. One of them says, well, must be, could be it's just your bad luck. You were born under a certain constellation, right? We're not going to get into, but you were born under a certain constellation. That's it. You can't fight against it. This is what was supposed to be. This is what was decreed, right? You can't do anything against it. But the Ramban says there are things that we're going to get upstairs after we die, after 120 years. We're going to ask God, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did the other thing happen? Right? And you should have done this, you should have done that. God says, I didn't have to do that. You went down a slippery slope. I didn't tell you to do that. Oh, maybe the inclination took you. Other things took you. But I didn't tell you to do it. So here you're blaming me and you're saying it's all my fault. I didn't tell you to do it. I just didn't stop you. I could have, but I didn't. I had different reasons why not to. So, we're going to be kind of shocked at that as well, because as the Gemara says, you want to go on the right path, God will help you. You don't want to go on the right path, God doesn't have to stop you. Right? He doesn't have to stop you. So behavior that, that leads to one thing to another, God could stop you in different ways. He doesn't. Why? Because you have free choice. You have free choice to use it for whatever you want, for good or for bad. God created evil, as it says in Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. He created evil. Christians mistranslate the topic. The verse. Right? Very good, because where's all evil come from? Mr. S, fallen angel. We don't believe in fallen angels. Right? But that's gross mistranslation. Right? No question. So if God created evil, people say, well, God is evil. No. Doesn't mean he's evil. It just means he allows it to be in the world. He allows people to tap into it. As the Ramchal says, does he want people to tap into it? No. Does he want people to do bad things? No. He doesn't want that. For sure doesn't want that. But you have a choice. So a person can say, but, you did this and you did that. God can say, I didn't do that. That's what, these things you can't blame me. You did it to yourself, right? And that's the worst thing. It's one thing if, listen, you're in certain situations not in control. Okay, that I hear. Then the question is, how are you going to react? How are you going to look at it? It's one thing. But if you did it to yourself, and you got no one to blame but yourself, and you got to look in the mirror and say, I'm the schnook that did this, it's, I think that's harder to face. Because, it's you get hit right between the eyes. Very hard to face. Very, very hard to face, right? I'm convinced, I could be wrong, but I would think, my opinion here for what it's worth, I would think, people say all the time, I want to know why I'm going through this, or why I'm going through that. Yeah? Let's say God would tell you. Let's say it would open your eyes and say, okay, right? He comes to you, or an angel, an intermediary, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And he says, by the way, you're going through this and you're going through that. This is because you did this over here, that over here, and this other thing. Now, some people would say, at least I know. At least I'm happy I know why. Some people would say that. I think a lot of people would be like shell shocked, and exactly to see the measure for measure, in different things. And I'm not so convinced. Again, I could be wrong. But I'm not so convinced people will be a lot happier. Saying, "Oh, I'm glad," I'm glad. At least now I know. I think they'll put the hair they don't have out of their head. Say, "Oh, I can't believe this happened," and I let this happen, and now these are the repercussions. Again, I'm not saying this is 100% truth. I'm just saying that's what I would think. Because I think truth hurts, and nobody wants rebuke, and no one wants to hear that they did it to themselves. Woe to that day. It's like it's what happened to Joseph and the brothers. What did Joseph say? Joseph said, "I'm Joseph. Is my father still alive?" And they couldn't answer. Right? So that's the parable for what's going to happen to us. Because we're not going to be able to answer. God's going to say, "I was here all the time. Everything was around you. This is what you did." You're not going to be able to answer. It's going to be hard to fathom. That's part of what Gehenna is. That's the embarrassment. The embarrassment of what we did in this world. Because even if we don't understand necessarily the measure for measure, I'm still convinced if you would know what it was, it wouldn't help you. Make you feel worse. If you understood really how it worked. Some people, would be happy and say, okay, now I understand. Now I have it clear. Now I see. But, I'm not so convinced. I think some people just be absolutely broken by it. And it's like, I can't believe this and that. And that's what happens. Right? Because we don't understand the way God thinks. Right? As the Chosavova says, the beginning of duty is the heart which no one learns. But, in the gate of God's unity, he says, one thing we can never understand about God is his essence, his true essence. We can understand some other things, right? But his true essence, no one will ever understand. Right? No one's seen God face to face. Moses asked to see God face to face. God says, "No one can see my face and live." You can only understand things in hindsight, and even in hindsight, we don't necessarily understand either. I'm not saying blow it off. At the same time, there could be 1.5 million things a person's done, over the years, and the repercussions, they can't even imagine what they are. Can't even imagine. So again, so I would say, it's not really worth it to try and figure out because you'll never figure it out. But I would say it doesn't matter. You still have to change. Still have to be better. Everything we have to do better. Because if you would take a self-accounting, right, every night before you go to sleep, if you would take a self-accounting, right, you know where you stand. How did I deal with others? How did I deal with my relationship to God? Did I pray if I had? Did I make blessings? Right? Interpersonal relationships, all these things on a daily basis. Are we going to pass the test? Even though we don't necessarily pass the test, if we're honest, right? If we're brutally honest, the next day you shouldn't get out of bed. Shouldn't wake up. Because the Chosavova says we don't do a tenth, a third, a quarter what we're supposed to do. But it doesn't say you should be broken by it and just say, well, if I'm not going to accomplish what I need to accomplish, what's the point? The point is you're still in this world. Point is you still have to try. You still have to work hard, even if you're going to, fail to a certain extent. God understands that. But stakes are very high. Right? The Chofetz Chaim says, people think time is money. So the Chofetz Chaim says, I beg to differ. It's not time is money, time is life. People just waste life. Waste. Yeah, bunch of questions. Let me deal with them. Somebody asks, what will happen before Mashiach comes? So before Mashiach comes, it's going to be a lot of strife. It's going to be a lot of evil. It's going to be a lot of terrible things going on in the world. Doesn't mean it's all going to be bad. But you're going to see man's inhumanity, man. Sometimes it'll be better, right? Sometimes worse. But right before Mashiach comes, which, we're living in that generation, things are going to get a lot worse. You go, how much worse could it get? Don't ask. Could get a lot worse. All right. And the only thing we have to know and realize is that the only thing we have is to rely on our Father in heaven. That's it. That is going to be the ultimate test as a believer. Because everything you see that goes on in the world, you're going to question. We're going to question. Yeah. So there's so many questions we'll have. But at the end of the day, God's one in charge. That's what we have to realize. So that's the test. Right? There's going to be a test. It's going to be a test the last generation in a great wealth. People are going to thank God because they have wealth. Or they're just going to use it to abuse other people and who knows what. Right? Is there going to be a balance in between? Right? That's also going to be a big test. Right? And the Jewish people are going to be in serious trouble. Right? As we see right now all over the world. Yeah, what happened October 7th, they'll do over and over and over again as much as they can. Right? There's a danger. There's a tremendous danger. Right? You got Hezbollah, you got Iran, okay? Been weakened to a certain extent, very good. They ain't stopping. You got these Houthis also not going to get into politics. It's like very hard to get to them. I mean, open to blow them up, go in there, whatever. But you got problems all over the world. You got these Muslim cells all over, and their whole goal is to take over the world. That's their goal. Kill as many people as they can. So that's all it's supposed to be. These are all prophecies. Like, this is what's supposed to be. But you got to survive at the same time. But yet, you have to know how to see it. So it seemingly, it's got to get worse before the Messiah comes. How much worse? Who knows? But whatever. It's not going to be pretty either way. Someone asked, we need a mezuzah on every doorway in the house, not the bathroom. No, you put them on a doorway that has an arch, has a lintel. I guess they use the space in it. Even let's say if I had this question once. I had a duplex underneath the staircase was a door, and what do we use it for? Stored a bunch of things in there. Had to put a mezuzah there. You really could go in and out, right? Yeah. So any doorway except in the bathroom. You don't put one in the bathroom. Even if, let's say, you have a laundry room, let's say that's got a door that you have to walk through the bathroom. You don't put a mezuzah there, right? Everywhere else you would put a mezuzah. Everywhere that's got an arch, it's got a lintel, whatever. You go in and out, or you have the potential to go in and out. So yeah, so it's basically every, that would be the general. That would be the general rule. No, you don't put it on the bathroom. No. We're supposed to learn as much as we can because the time of Mashiach, we're no longer going to be able to grow. Ooh. You got to learn as much as you can anyway, right? That is, that is true. When Mashiach comes, so the reason no one's going to be allowed to convert is because you won't have free will. Right, just like in time the Gemara says, the time of King David, King Solomon, right? No one was allowed to convert because if they were, they saw open miracles. See open miracles, then your free will is taken away. So one great rabbi once told me that if someone is accepted by a rabbinical court, they haven't converted yet, and Mashiach comes, they should be allowed to convert. Right? So I don't know. Everyone will agree with that. I'm just saying one person had told me, but. Spiritually speaking, whatever level you're on, you're going to grow exponentially while, when the Mashiach's there, you get to a certain point. I don't know if it's going to continue, a person's going to continue to grow. I don't see why not, though. Why can't their soul go? Why can't their soul grow? Even when a person's dead, mitzvahs that they did in this world will elevate the soul also. Even the time Mashiach should be there. The soul can still be elevated. right? Definitely can still be. It should be able to be elevated. Not going to stunt your growth, even though you don't have free will, right? So some people grow exponentially because now they won't have the problem of the evil inclination. So they're not going to get distracted, right? So if someone was on a certain level, they could raise themselves to unbelievable spiritual levels because evil inclination not going to affect them, right? Certainly not going to affect them. Shouldn't affect them. Somebody asked, let me deal with some of these other questions here. Somebody asks, would I recommend doing, yeah, if you're doing work, you have Christian music playing all day. I would think that's a problem. I would definitely think that's a problem. If someone is playing Christian music, I would listen to something else, right? If you can't listen to something else, then I would think Torah in your mind, right? That would be that would be that would be my advice. If there's no other way, if you can't get rid of the music, right, you can listen to your own music. If you can't listen to your own music, then you should think Torah or, you know, think some verses in Psalms or something. Just like keep your mind, focus on Torah, not that. Someone asks, I said that God is pulling strings, right? Comes kings, big leaders. Do you think God pulled a book of Job with the Holocaust? He wanted these people dead. He wanted 6 million people dead. Why? Don't know. Obviously, that had to be, some humongous sin that the Jewish people did, during that time to deserve it. It's punishment. There's no question. Absolute punishment. Even the rabbis of that, during that time, they didn't give the right advice. They didn't tell people to leave. To leave. Some people did, but by the time the rabbis understood what was really going on, it was already too late, and all the borders were sealed. Right. So God didn't allow them to help, the Jewish people in general. Some of them they were able to help, but a lot of them said, didn't believe what was going to happen until it was too late. So, do I believe the absolute punishment by God? Absolutely, no question. Why? Could be any number of reasons. There was 80% intermarriage in Berlin at the time, in Germany at the time. Four movement, kicked up and said, "We're happy being in Berlin. We don't, we're going to change the prayer book and not say we're going back to Zion, going back to Jerusalem." They took that out of the prayer book. We want to be, we're happy being here in Germany. Now, is that the reason it happened in Germany? Not saying that. Could be. Very well could be. Right? Get into marriage, big problem. No one said anything. You got that, it's a big problem. And they want to assimilate. So you took the greatest nation at that time, most civil nation at that time, turned into barbarians. Right? So God showed, oh, you think being close to non-Jews is a good thing? I'll show you. You want to be, you don't want to, you don't like my laws. You think they're too old, this and that. You think you're going to be cultured like everyone else. God said, yeah, I'm going to ram it down your throat. You'll see. You'll see what culture can do. Is that the reason? Again, I'm not saying it's the reason, right? But look what happened. Look what happened last year. You had three presidents, not getting into politics. You had three presidents of universities. University of Pennsylvania, MIT, and Harvard. And none of them, when they were grilled, could say that genocide is wrong and only depends on the context. Has anything changed? What happened in Nazi Germany, and in the universities and whatever? Hasn't changed. Who were the first people to join the Third Reich? Yeah. They wouldn't put a gun to their head. May his name be blown out, may rot, wherever he is. Who joined? Academics, doctors, lawyers. They weren't skinheads. They believed 100% what they were doing. The cream of the crop, the elites. Well, what do we see about the cream of the crop of the elite in America? Thugs. Worse than thugs. At least you want to protest and do other things. I would say tongue in cheek, take off your stupid mask. Like what? Like you want to show solidarity with with the quote unquote Palestinians. Take off your stupid mask. What are you afraid to show your face for? If I come out against someone, I'm showing my face. I don't have anything to hide. What am I hiding about? And again, so you're going to say Qatar gave them billions of dollars, all these universities, got all their professors, all these left wing, whatever, all these people there. That's not a coincidence, but there's a ton of hatred on these campuses. Top 1% of all college students, big, be the movers and shakers of the next generation. That is a scary thought. No one imagined America be like that. Some people did because they saw it, but a lot of people couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine Germany either. No difference. No difference. The elite are the elite, rotten to the core. Rotten to the core. Yeah. So now, back to your question. Do I think that they were messengers? God sent them as messengers. They had free choice. There were people that did not join the Third Reich. Plenty of people did not like what was going on there. Did not join. It's a book called Hitler's Willing Executioners. And one of the things the person who wrote the book said they weren't forced. Which is a big mistake. People think it's like, oh, you had no choice. Not true. He proves beyond the shadow of a doubt. Not true. They did it willingly. But are they guilty? Sure, they're guilty. God used them, but they're guilty. No question. Right? So I didn't know when evil is sent from God versus allowed. It's always allowed. God put it out there. Now the question is, if you tap into it, are you guilty? You're guilty. God didn't tell you to do it. But God can use any number of people he wants to do what he wants. So they believe in it. They get all riled up. Very good. They're going to be guilty. No question. How can we say it's evil against God? I'll tell you like this. Every bullet, every missile has its target. If Jews are getting targeted, that means we're doing something wrong. It's not just evil is running rampant and this and that. If anti-Semitism is up, and it's always going to, it'll be up and down. It's always been that way throughout history. Esav hates Yaakov. And that's never going to change, no matter how many Noahides you make in the world, never going to change till the end of days. Sometimes it'd be better, sometimes worse. If we had more Noahides, it would be better. Okay. But when you have things go, if you look like an Orthodox Jew and you walk down the street, you are a target. No question about it. You're a target. Now, if a person gets hit, other things happen, it's because God wanted it to happen. People don't want to hear that. They'll say, if you would dress normally, like someone said to me once back in the day, it's embarrassing to be seen with you in public the way you're dressed. It's like you're asking to be a target. That's essentially what they were saying. You're asking to be a target. Now, if anything would happen, in general, and someone would make some comment or this and that, or start up with you, someone would say, well, you asked for it yourself. I didn't ask for it. I was going about, my own business, going into a store. Who said I started up with anyone? You walk in the store, all of a sudden, a few people, surround you and say free Palestine. I didn't ask for that. Oh, I have what to answer, but I didn't ask for it. So yeah, so you got these thugs, whatever. They take someone down, they smack someone, this, that. That person had it coming. Why? Don't know. No idea, but they had it coming. Yeah. So someone wants to do that. Remember one thing, the Holy says, it's only you and God in the world. In other words, no one can do any good to you or harm you if God doesn't want it. So that means that, so then the question Holy asks is, if that's true, then why do you need mankind for? It's just you and God. So go hide in the cave, go live somewhere, whatever. It's just you and God in the world. So you need mankind anyway. You need mankind anyway, but what's the point? No one can do anything against the person. Good or bad, unless God wills it. Right? Let that sink in. Unless God wills it. So if you're walking down the street, Orthodox Jews walking down the street and he gets pummeled, and something happens, God forbid. The other person's guilty, nothing to talk about. God used that person as a stick to get to you. So why did it happen? Because you must have sinned. That's the only reason. You must have done something wrong to deserve it. Right? So it's clear. So anything that happens, everything in the world happens for the sake of Jewish people, individually and collectively. And the October 7th was a wake-up call for all Jews. You're going to say, well, they went to this festival, desecrated Shabbos, desecrated the holiday, and this, that. There was a Buddha there. You're right. It's all bad. All bad. But guess what? That's not the reason it happened. How do I know that's not the reason it happened? Because it was a divine decree. It was a divine decree from Rosh Hashanah. And all the people collectively there had to be, had to happen whatever happened. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. And every great rabbi said the same thing. They didn't come out and say, oh, there was a Buddha, they must have deserved it for that. Oh, they desecrated shops. They said, we don't understand why it happened and the way it happened. Same thing about the Holocaust. We have no idea why. We can guess why, but we have no idea. So people can tap into evil if they want. If they don't, if God doesn't want them to, they won't. Keep that in mind. Right? So if a Jew, an exemplary Jew, let's say, walks down the street looking like an authentic Orthodox Jew, and nothing happens to him, why? Why does nothing happen to him? Because God is happy with him. He doesn't want anyone starting up with him, so he allows them. He doesn't allow them to. He stops them, even if they wanted to. Now, you can have other Jews don't necessarily do the right thing all the time. And God could get them knocked around in different ways. So he uses them to get to them. But why is he doing that? What is the purpose of him doing that? Sin. That's the purpose. Wake you up. God doesn't want to have to do that, but he'll put things around you. If that doesn't wake you up, God hits you in the pocket. If that doesn't work, God hits you in the body. Even illness. We don't know where a lot of illness come from. They can guess, they don't know. But why do some people get sick, other people don't? Illness is punishment. God wants to wake you up. It's punishment. Oh, but you did it to yourself. You ate too much sugar. This caused diabetes and caused other problems. Yeah, okay, you did it to yourself. Good. But let's say don't that way. Most cancer, they don't know where it comes from. Some other diseases, they have no idea where it comes from. So why'd it happen? Because God whacked them in the body for sin. That's why. You don't see it that way. It's by bad luck. Oh, you got this, you got that. Someone drops dead of a heart attack. Why? Because that's when God took them. But anytime person has difficulty, usually in this world, it's because of punishment, whether it's financial or whether it's physical. Right? Mentally, could be other things. Could be also. Right? No one wants to hear that, though. I know someone now going out of their minds. They have a skin disease, right? They can, barely move. Like 1 in 10 billion. It's only like, I don't know, 100 cases in the history of man that have ever had this thing. Not fatal, but really annoying, and they'll never equate it with anything they've done. They'll say it's my bad luck. Yeah. I could guess maybe why it could happen, but who knows? But we all sin. Everybody sins some level. Some will get it harder, some will get it easier. It all depends. But God allows these things to happen because he's getting to you. But the person tapping in is guilty. He's just using them to get to you. Someone asked their Jewish teaching that God knew us before we had a human body. Kabbalah. That's Kabbalah. Yeah. That we accepted our mission put on earth. You know why we accepted our position? Right? Because it's brought down that God had to force us, convince us. Because the soul is basking in God's glory, whatever that means. Right? Underneath the heavenly throne. Right? Soul wants to stay there. Very good. God says, no, you're going to go in the body. Soul doesn't want to go. Soul is about basking in God's glory. It's happy in the soul world. It's happy there, but God forces it to be in the body. Right? Are there different levels of heaven? Yes. People have different levels. Some people have a higher level, some people lower level. Depends what they've done in this world. Depends on their actions. Someone asked, what's the best way to celebrate your birthday? Oh, what would be the best way? I would say, want to be around loved ones. A birthday is a day to give blessings. Give blessings to others. Special day. Right? Commemorates the day you were born. Nothing by accident. right? Yeah, even a person's married or whatever, or who knows what, as a relationship with somebody, they end up having a child. Now, I could have prevented the child, could have, right? But let's say it didn't happen, So it's no mistake for a person to be in this world. All the souls brought down again, according to Kabbalah, all the souls from underneath the heavenly throne have to come out before the Messiah comes. Have to be in a body in this world, even if we're reincarnated souls, doesn't matter. All those souls have to come out in order for the Messiah to come. So if you see, God forbid, I'm not going to get into this, but you see, God forbid, different places, how many abortions are done on a yearly basis. Not to mention the soul doesn't come out because it just doesn't come out, right? But, cause other problems, cause a lot of other problems. But if that's what we really believe and this is really true, obviously not everyone's going to be able to have 10 kids, 12 kids, 6 kids, whatever, whatever it may be. But the Messiah can't come till all the souls come out, the Gemara says. They have to have kids. You have to have kids to replenish the earth, no question. Even non-Jews have to have children. But, if you don't have all the souls coming out, the Messiah can't come. So it's a tremendous day also, as we said, it's birthday, that you're celebrating. What do you celebrate? The fact you're alive. A lot of people live like they'd rather be dead. Okay. But, every breath we take in this world is the ability still to praise God, is the ability to do mitzvahs, right? Even if we're very old, doesn't matter. Still have that ability, right? So, so a birthday, you're celebrating what? You're commemorating the fact that God gave you life. Now, you can celebrate it in a number of ways. Yeah, good food, right? Torah thoughts, but that person has the ability to give blessings. Why? Because it's a special day for them. You can say, it's a Goyish thing, it's a non-Jewish thing to, do different things on the birthday. I don't know. Yeah, it could be. It could be, but it's a tremendous day for blessing. Tremendous day for blessing. Someone here mentions certainly based upon the connection, individual has conception before conception. You already knew you as an individual based on your soul, right? You already had a connection to God as a soul. We don't, nobody knows what that's like because the soul's stuck in the human body. But we do understand that we have a special connection, right? 100%. That is true. Someone that says that's why further closer based on its turning towards God or not. Right. The whole purpose of evil is either I'm going to choose to do it or not, or go in the right path. Right? That's the point. It's a choice: do good or do bad. And the fact that the person does either, there are repercussions on both sides. People create idols in order to not take one responsibility for their life. Why do people choose idols? Right? Even back in the day, idol worship was, very much in vogue. A story with Avram and his father Terah. Terah goes out one day. Avram destroys all the idols, and the Medrash says he puts a stick in the hand of one idol. So Terah's like, Abe, what happened? So, this big fight among the idols, and this idol beat everyone up, and he was the last one standing. So Terah says, Abe, what are you talking about? These things don't have power. They can't do anything. They're like, what are you making up stories for? So he says, so why do you worship them? So then Terah got a little bit upset, and he took him to Nimrod, right? And then, they had a whole conversation. Nimrod threw him in a fiery furnace, right? So most people would agree, at least even then, and everyone was busy in, idol worship till, Abraham came on the scene. But think about it. A lot of them, it was just a representation. They didn't, you take the golden calf, similar thing. Did they really believe, after seeing God face to face on Mount Sinai, whatever that means, did they really believe that the calf, took them out of Egypt? So if you look at the verses, it looks like idolatry. Yeah, looks like idolatry. But you got to ask the question, this is the greatest generation in the history of man. I mean, different ways to look at it, but this is the greatest generation in the history of man. The fact that they sinned so fast, so quick, even if it was a mixed multitude that did it, doesn't matter. The fact is, how could they believe this thing took them out of Egypt? So for them also, it was a manifestation. They didn't believe it had power, even though it could eat and whatever, but they didn't believe it had power, that kind of power. They didn't believe it was God. 100% they didn't believe that. Right? You look at the verses, seemingly they did, but commentaries go to town saying not that way. Right? So why do people create idols? Idols are a lot of different things today. Idols don't mean you're just bowing down to something. Idols can mean money, power, fame, right? Food. People worship food also, right? Entertainment, sports, right? So the question is, do people create them, to not take responsibility? Sure. It's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more fun, right? You get caught up in these other things and, people take fantasy. People love fantasy. They don't want to take responsibility, right? Or for sure not. So whatever the idol is, whether it's pagan, whether it's food, whether it's money, any of these things they're giving power to, that takes them away from God. That takes them away from responsibility. Sure, makes life a lot easier. A lot easier. What is the lintel? It's a doorpost, right? It's a frame, right? It's like a square frame, right, for the door, right? So anything that has a square frame, even doesn't necessarily have a door on it per se, that's where mezuzah should go. Somebody asks, what do you say? Different levels of heaven. Yeah. Where is it written? The different levels of hell is a book called Rashis Chochmah that talks about different levels of hell. That it does. It's not translated. Different levels of heaven is probably Kabbalah. Probably Kabbalah. Someone asked, would you say you think it's going to be safer in Israel with Trump in office instead of Kamala or Biden? It's definitely going to be better. I think it's definitely going to be better. I'm not going to, get into politics, but he'll probably go down as the greatest president Israel's ever had. Because he understands, they're only ally in the Middle East, and Israel has to be strong to take care of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, the Houthis, and everyone else, because they know.
I'm sorry, my friend, but America has many allies in the Middle East.
Seder, but this is the main ally
And
they have.
American president is the American president, not the Israeli president.
That has nothing to do
We
with it,
must
but they're the ones.
separate ourselves.
You're right, but they're the ones that are not. This person in power is not gonna stop arms coming here, like the other people would. So they're gonna make Israel stronger, as strong as possible. That's
That's the
that
American way. Yes, sir.
that's the way it should be. But that's not what Biden was doing. That's not what Obama was doing. I mean, that wasn't what Obama was doing either. So yeah, you had good presidents, you had bad presidents. I don't think, I don't think there's any question. But he's hopefully going to give free reign to Israel to do what they need to do, right? That's what I would say. Will children still be born when the Messiah comes? I think so. I think maybe. I'm not sure. Not sure. Because basically the Messiah could come when all the souls come out. So could be there won't be children. But the Rambam says, this world's going to be the same. So it's going to be the same, maybe, but doesn't sound like that. Someone asked, what do I mean by no more free will? It means you're not going to have any inclination. There will be no, in that time when the Messiah comes, you'll see open miracles, and when and whoever survives will not have, there will be no evil inclination. Everybody at that point will be doing God's will. That's what not having free will means. Like animals, like spiritual forces, like angels. They don't have free will. They can't do what they want. So mankind will be the same. We'll all be doing God's will. That's what it means. You won't even be thinking about doing anything else because you won't have an evil inclination. Someone asked me to explain Ezekiel 36:26. new hearts I'm going to give you, a new spirit I will put within you. Take away the stony heart. Yeah, it's taking away the evil inclination. That's what it means. I'll have to look into it a little more, but what does it mean? You're going to have a new heart. A new heart means you're doing what God says to do. You're going in His path. You're not veering off either direction, right? What that means is it seems to say, the evil inclination is gone. So you're not going to have an evil inclination. Yeah, let me see. Is tree of knowledge now going for something other than a tree? Well, it's definitely a tree. No one says it wasn't a tree. The question is what it was exactly, right? But it also represented all the spiritual worlds. All the spiritual worlds, the Nefesh Chaim says, according to Kabbalah, the Nefesh Chaim was Rav Chaim of Volozhin, famous student of Vilna Gaon, more than 300 years ago. And according to Kabbalah, it was it's all the spiritual worlds attached to this tree. And when man ate from it, all the spiritual worlds got messed up, and they get solidified when we do mitzvahs and stay messed up when we don't. And the fruit, what does it reflect? And what about the tree of life? And what is the tree? What is its fruit? Not sure if there was any fruit there, but or what it was. Exactly. Tree of life, someone ate it. Simple explanation is you would never die. That's why God throws Adam and Eve out of the garden, because once they ate from the tree of knowledge, then they had to God put these, fiery angels in front of the tree of life so they wouldn't eat it, and they wouldn't eat from it, and sent them out because they had to go through death. Now, if you live forever, you don't atone for your sin. Whatever sin you did, so you have to die, right? That was a decree. That was God's decree. That after they ate from the tree. So the tree of knowledge, is, the commentaries say, well, the difference between right and wrong. You'll be like God, creating, destroying worlds. Yeah, what does that mean? Right? We have the ability. I'll give one example. This is one example. We have the ability to make or break people through our mouth. Yeah, when a person speaks badly against someone else, a Jew, we'll say, because it doesn't necessarily apply to a non-Jew, you get more than 30 prohibitions in one shot. So there are 3 people you kill in the process. You kill yourself by speaking Lashon Hara, not necessarily literally. You destroy the person you spoke about, and you destroy the person who heard it, if they believe it. If they believe it, they also transgress, but you cause them to hear it. So now we know words kill. Absolutely, words kill. Words kill, words destroy. All I have to do is go on the internet, which I won't tell people to do, or listen to the news. Every second of every day, people are maligning other people. All the time. Talk radio, talk sports radio, all these things. All these things. And they destroy people's character. So eating from the tree of knowledge, you're now given this ability. You're given this ability, and you have real power. Power of the mouth. And power of the mouth can destroy exponentially. Exponentially. It's a scary proposition, but nobody cares. Nobody cares, and everybody does it. Yeah, the Gemara says there's no one that doesn't sin from Lashon Hara, or even avak, even the dust of Lashon Hara, meaning he didn't really speak Lashon Hara per se, but someone took it and then they started saying things and whatever. Yeah. So he said everybody has difficulty with that. So that kills people. Kills people. Right? And normally Lashon Hara is when things are not true. They're lying. They're spreading lies. Right? But Lashon Hara can also be if it's true. That's why it doesn't make sense. It's not universal, even for non-Jews to learn. And the reason is because if you ask any non-Jew or any secular Jew, if I know something to be true, 100% it's been proven. There are certain conditions I'm allowed to repeat it. They say, why? Why should there be any conditions? It's true, everybody knows it. Right? So that's not logical according to logic. According to universal law, it's not logical. Usually Lashon Hara is about a lie, but it can also be if it's true. Even if it's true, it could be Lashon Hara. Right? So the idea, one idea is, the power that we have by making choices, good choices, bad choices, whatever, unbelievable repercussions. I'm really talking about through the mouth, what a person says. And this is what goes on around the world. Around the world. Everybody does it. Person works with other people. What do they speak about? Speak about the weather. Maybe speak about sports, entertainment. And what's the favorite topic more than anything else? Speaking about other people. That's what people do. Oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Everybody does it. Right? Oh, God wants, obviously. Right? But it gave us, it's tremendous power. We could, how do we want to look, in the future? Person, you say, but, not only that, the more people that do it, or the more you speak about it, right, the more praise the person gets. That's what it is. Why do we believe in God? Why do we believe in one God? Because you give power to where it's deserved. Nothing else has power in this world except for God. So if you give power to idolatry, which takes God out of the picture, that's bad. That's why there's so many prohibitions against idolatry. Because you're taking God out of the picture. Why is that? Why does God care? Because God wants to show in the world he's the one in charge. And it's one of the things he did in Egypt. He destroyed a lot of their gods, that they worshipped. And he flattened them like a pancake to show there is no other God except for me. Now, Pharaoh believed. He said, who's this God I should believe in? And he didn't necessarily believe in him. He just thought like God's so lofty, taking care of other things, he's going to give other powers, other forces power. But other forces can't have power unless God gives it power. So anything you take out of God's power, so to speak, you're giving idolatry. And God says, I hate idolatry. I don't want idolatry. He doesn't stop it. He allows people to have free will, right? But, two main things God hates. One is idolatry, one's immorality. So God wants idolatry destroyed. But he allows it to exist, but he wants it destroyed. Someone says, Esau always hate Jacob, right? Jacob was going back to Canaan from Laban, the kiss between Yaakov and Esau. Esau's kiss was an angry kiss. Well, Rashi says you want to kill him. His kiss, Rashi says, and others say, really, when he went to give him a kiss, and kiss his neck, his fangs were out, and he was all set to just to kill him. Kind of like a vampire, a certain way, right? He was all set to kill him. So what did God do? So God made his neck like strong as iron, so he couldn't do it. Stopped him, right? Also says he was overcome with tremendous emotion when he saw him. He came with 400 men to kill him, no question. No question. But he was overcome by unbelievable emotion. Unbelievable emotion, but that didn't stop him. That did not stop him trying to kill him at that point, and God didn't allow him to do it. Who is the court of the love of Hagar in Israel? I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, who is the court of the love of Hagar? Hagar, the offspring of Hagar were some say the Rambam says the whole question, if anyone who comes from them comes from Yishmael, says that they have to have proper what do you call it? They have to have circumcision. Not like we do it, but if they come from Keturah, that they have to have some level of circumcision. Now, so the offspring of they'll claim Yeah, I'll just throw this out there. The Muslims will claim that they go straight back to Yishmael. But they go straight back to Yishmael. Okay. Now, the issue with that is that Sancheiriv came and he messed up all the nations. So no one can claim direct going back there because he messed up all the nations, intermingled them. Right? So he's some sort of hybrid somewhere along the line, somewhere down the line. But they'll claim they go straight to Yishmael. Okay. Now, who comes out of Hagar? Yeah, the Arabs. The Muslims, right? So the Muslims of today, in the Emek Dover commentary of the Netziv, who was head of the Yeshiva of Volozhin after Rav Chaim of Volozhin, of Naftali Tzvi Berliner, blessed memory. In the verse in the Torah, it says that he's a wild man. His hand is the hand of everyone. Everyone's in the hand of his. So he says that an Arab, an offspring of Yishmael, let's say better, an offspring of Yishmael will never fight against another offspring of Yishmael. They'll never fight. That's what he says. Now, you ask on that and you say, but that's not true. Right? You see the Sunnis against the Shiites and, they fight against each other. So, you could say, well, let's see if it's wrong. Could be, but he's got a premise. Normally that wouldn't happen. Right? So if they come from the same root, right? This would be my proof for this. If they would come from the exact same root and they go exactly straight to Yishmael, generation after generation, then what the Nasiv says would be true. That for sure would be true. They would never fight against each other. They're all unit. There's unity there. But if that's not the case, and they all got messed up, through Sancheiriv and mixing up all the populations, then you could have that. Essentially, you could have that. So the Muslims are an offshoot of Yishmael, right? Down the line, they're an offshoot, right? But again, they're going to make the claim. They are direct descendants, right? The only problem is that it's going to be very hard to prove because obviously, if the populations got dispersed, then they're not direct descendants, right? They can claim they are. Okay, claim whatever they want, right? But so the offspring of all these kids that they had together, I guess you have to go through, the history, see who's who and whatever, but it would be a lot of the offspring of Ishmael. I explained Psalm 110. What is the order of Melchizedek? All right, I'm not going to go into that. You said Christians mistranslate Isaiah said about something. What character was that? Oh, very clear. Isaiah 45, verse 7. It says God created evil. Look at King James translation. It doesn't say that. King James does not say that. Yeah, because where does evil come from according to the Christians? Satan. Right? That's where it comes from. And where does evil come from according to us? God. That doesn't mean that God is evil. He allows people to tap into it. 100%. 100%. Right? But again, there's no such thing as fallen angel. Right? So Isaiah does not mention Satan there. Isaiah says God created evil. Period. God created evil. Now, Satan can try and make a sin and do other things, but again, he's got free choice. But the Torah, the Isaiah says they're clear that God created evil. Someone asks, what will happen before Mashiach comes? So we spoke about that. Basically, there are going to be a lot of wars and all that. And things are going to get a lot worse for the Jewish people before they get better. For sure. Someone here mentions on Gemara, so we got everything that's happening. We are on the brink, right? Everything, everything that has been prophesied is coming to fruition, right? That's, that is true. That's why I think it's funny in a certain way where people want to discredit the Zohar and say, nah, it's a made-up thing, it's this, it's that, it has no credibility. It's got a lot of credibility. Got a lot of credibility for a lot of things. So, yeah. Listen, the prophets don't lie. People can say what they want, but that comes straight from God. So they are making the claim in God's name. And we see that, right? 100%. Someone here says, God said to create the heavens and the earth. Right? Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, he created the heaven, right? He created the heavens and the earth. Yeah, there are different levels in heaven, but even if there are different levels, what I thought the person meant was the different levels for a person to reach while they're there. I mean, there's only one heaven, essentially. I mean, maybe, you got the firmament, and they split the firmament, and this and that. Right? Yeah, different levels, that's true. I thought the person meant different levels the person could reach, when they're there. Someone has to have class on Lashon Hara. No. Thought about it. Definitely have thought about it. Giving classes on it, maybe one day. It's a good thing. Maybe get my other project up and running. Maybe put that as one of the podcasts. Besides the podcast I'm doing now. I'm gonna do a lot of things with that, but maybe gonna start a class on Tanakh also. That might be. That might be a good idea. Go through Tanakh properly. Just like going through Chumash properly. It's still in the book of Leviticus. A lot of things. A lot of potential ideas. That's one of them. That could definitely be definitely could be one of them. I think Tanakh's a good idea also. Someone asks, what's missing is make people on this planet so violent. What's causing all the wars in because people want power? This is not a new thing. It's just different weapons, right? This is going on for centuries. Yeah, I mean, this is the bloodiest century in the history of man. That's true, but why is it going on? People want power. People are, egomaniacs. They, some want to conquer the world. Some, want to expand power, or still hold on to power, or people are egomaniacs. Yeah, quote unquote, believe in the cause and religion and this and that's also part of it, right? Also, also part of it. But power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's one thing I learned in ninth grade in social studies class. One thing I remember anyway. That's what it is. They want more power. They'll do whatever they can to hold on to power. Right? It's worse when they do it in the name of religion. Right? But that's what the Crusades were all about. But again, you have, Christianity, a big part of it, as well. Conquering different places and, different things in the name of their savior. We got to be in control. We got to, do certain things so we can educate savages. Spread the word of God. That's how you do it. You force them, right? By death. That's what the Inquisition was all about. Believe in JC or die. So, it could be the name of religion. It could be the name of power. And people doing it even if they're not trying to do that. Even without weapons. Trying to do it through money. Can buy people, kill people. I mean, whatever. People have a lot, do whatever it takes to stay in the power. Yeah, just this generation is, this century, sorry, last century, bloody century in the history of man, okay? Weapons more developed, other things, true. It's all about power. You're in charge. It's tremendous power. And the more you have, the more you want. And when it comes to money and all that, it's like there's no end. You never, a person never satiated with money. Never. Someone asked, how can we know who the Mashiach is? Because Isaiah the prophet, Elijah the prophet's going to come and tell us. He's going to make it clear. He's going to make it clear. It's one of the things he's going to do, right? He's going to announce the coming of the Messiah. So that'll be clear for everybody. Everybody will know, right? Then they're going to try and figure out how to kill him. Okay, it's a different issue, but everyone's going to know. Why is there animal sacrifice in Genesis? Who came up with this idea? It seems weird. You know what it seems weird? Because we have no connection to it. Read the whole book of Leviticus. Beginning of the book of Leviticus. We also have no connection to it. right? There are reasons why. I'm not going to go into it now, but who came up with the idea? God did. That's the answer. God wanted sacrifice. What did the animals do wrong? Nothing. God wanted his name sanctified through animal sacrifice. Right, think of what a korban is, a sacrifice is. What's the root? Kufresh beis. What does kufresh beis mean? Draw close. Imagine you brought a sacrifice to God. What was the sacrifice? Sin offering, right? That Book of Leviticus talks about, one of the offerings. Yeah, that animal, that animal was supposed to be you. So imagine you go to the temple, you bring this animal. You see the animal killed right in front of you, and that should have been you. You got to say the animal didn't deserve it. Very good. You're right. The animal didn't deserve it. But the animal gets sanctified on the altar by being killed in this way. Very good. Now, if you saw the animal, one of the things the Vilna Gaon said before he died, he said, one of the things I want to see in this world is somebody who gives a sacrifice, what they look like before and after. Because he says it's not possible unless their heart is hard as a rock, not possible they're going to be the same person. Impossible. Because imagine, you saw an animal killed in front of you, that was supposed to happen to you. Unless your heart is hard as a rock, how can you not be the same person? How can you be the same person? Impossible. Should be impossible. Right? Should be impossible. Right? So the God, the man, they understood. They understood. Cain and Abel. They understood to give a sacrifice. God didn't command them. We don't have a command. God said to Cain and Abel, bring sacrifices. No command whatsoever. Yeah? So they understood to thank God. They did it. They understood it was inherent in them to do it. Yeah, you might say, other people sacrifice, whatever. They were not true. They were the first ones there. Okay. Right. Let's say, very good. So we know the story. Abel's sacrifice was good. God, ate it up, so to speak. Cain's sacrifice, he brought dandelions, brought flax, put on the altar. So God wasn't so happy. And Cain got angry. God tries to get him to repent, and he ends up killing Abel. Right? But they understood in and of themselves to do it. God didn't make the command till later. Right? But they understood, thank God, that's what they were supposed to do. Okay. But then God gave the command. So the question is, why did God give the command? Yeah? We don't have such a connection to it, but I just gave you an example. The whole point of giving a sacrifice is to draw you close. We're so far removed from that, we have no idea. But that's what we're supposed to do. Right? Go to my videos on YouTube on Beyond Orthodox Conversion, Judaism, Book of Leviticus. Right? At the very beginning. Very beginning, I had them up there. Right? Very clear. What the purpose of sacrifices are. Please explain why God would have a prophet get naked in prophecy in public. I don't look into it. Yeah, let me see this other questions here. Ishmaelites. Yeah, they don't call themselves Ishmaelites, but again, they're offspring. They're offspring of Ishmael. The Muslims not circumcised. They do, but not on the 8th day. Say that they do it, when they're older. They're not supposed to flinch or anything. Like, it's like a sign of weakness. They do it when they're older. But they certainly don't do it on the 8th day. But they do circumcision, not the same way we do, but they do some level of circumcision. Other prophets today? Nope. Only prophets today are imbeciles or little children. Prophecy, the lowest form of prophecy is what we call divine inspiration, or Ruach HaKodesh. There are some people that have that today. There are some great rabbis that have that. Everyone else, no. Someone asked, all right, so it's documentary, concentration camp started in Spain. Discuss Nuremberg laws, okay. So you see that Homo was saying Germans aren't allowed to marry Jews. Jews are supposed to intermarry. Right? Jews are not supposed to intermarry, right. Right, 100%. It's forbidden. Torah speaks about it many times. And saying laws are going to harm Jews. Why do bullies pretend to be victims of Jews? Especially after Hanukkah, forcing Jewish women to spend the night. Why do they do that? Yeah. I'll ask a different question, but on a similar vein. We'll make it a little more graphic. What Hamas did on October 7th. The women that they call, what they do with them? Brutalize them. Brutalize them. Yeah. Why? Right? That's the second question. Where are all the feminist groups out there saying anything in defense? Nothing. Zero. I mean, anything last year. Nothing. No feminist group said anything against it. Right? So you could ask the question, okay, you're gonna tell, it's one thing, okay, you're against, quote unquote, the occupation, and you're gonna fight against the Jews and this and that. What does that have to do with brutalizing women? You want to torture them, you want to kill them. I get it. I get it. But why that? Why specifically that? What's the answer? Simple answer. Absolute humiliation. Humiliation for Jewish women. It's the only reason. Degrade them. Destroy their spirit. Not enough to kill them. Some of them they did. Yeah, just kill them outright. And did other things to their bodies. Okay. Right? But to destroy their spirit. Yeah. They're the same thing to gays. They have no qualms about it. They brutalize them also. Brutalize them, sodomize them, because they want to break them. It's part of what they want to do. Right? So why do bullies pretend to be victims, of the Jews? Because people lie. People lie all the time. We've done this, we've done that, we've done the other thing. It's a crock, right? We know it's a crock. But the whole point, lies sell. Nobody cares about lies. Everyone's still saying the same thing. Then 40,000 people killed in Gaza. Even if it's true, most of them for sure were terrorists. But even if it's true, and there were, I don't know, 10,000 women, children killed, quote unquote, innocent people, let's say. Or they use them as human shields. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're using them as human shields. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Yeah, in different ways. So yeah, lies sell. Lies sell in the major way. Major way. Why would Greek rulers want to do this to women before they got married? To brutalize them. To break them. To make life hard for them. It's happened throughout the ages. I'm not saying it's a good thing by any stretch. Because they want to destroy the spirit. Not just getting benefit of the body, it's a different issue. But why? To show they're nothing. Just to brutalize them, to break them. I mean, it's horrific. That's what they use. Torture's not good enough. Do other things to torture them. So when the Hodges came out, they got like 2 fingers missing. Not to mention probably, other problems as well. Yeah, brutalize. Because that's the hatred. That's how strong the hatred is. It's not enough just to kill them. That's too, sometimes it's too good. Just kill them in one shot. No, we're going to punish them. We're going to make them suffer. We're going to make them go hell in this world. Why is God allow it? Can't answer. Right? But he allowed it to happen. Do we start the animals after the flood? Yes. Why? Because God saw man was going to want to eat animals, so he gave them the ability. As long as they, ritually slaughter the animal in the right way. But really, the vegans might be right. That's probably better to be vegetarian than not. Right? But again, God saw there's a need for meat, that people wanted to eat meat, so he allowed it. King Solomon allowed children to marry his sons and daughters of the king of Hiram. There's 6 men that King David spoke about. Don't know. Could be. Could be. Why? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, let me finish up this. Is there any questions here? The land of Israel, by its nature, an expanding land like the skin of a tortoise. Maybe it's going to be much bigger once we take, once Mashiach comes, it's going to be a lot bigger. Certainly other part of Jordan is going to be ours. Could be parts of Iraq going to be ours. Syria is going to be ours, right? Eventually, it is going to expand. I mean, it's not yet, but the end of days it will. Is it an expanding land? No. It's got borders. It's got set borders. Just some of the set borders we can't inhabit now because you just can't. But in the end of days that'll change. That for sure will change. So see, see how it all how it all plays out. But most rabbinic authorities agree, where Eilat and Gaza and these places are, it's not part of Israel. It may conquer it. It may eventually be part of it. It's not part of the borders though. It's not really part of the borders because there's a question whether fruits and vegetables from that area need to take mice, right? If they're grown, you need to tithe them, right? So most rabbinic authorities hold not because it's not part of Israel. Now, the question is it going to be taken over later? No, good question. I don't think it's part of the border though. Might encompass Greater Israel. That's what we call Greater Israel in general. But is it expanding on a regular basis? No. And there are clear-cut borders, Torah says. But some of them we can't get to because we just can't get to right now. But eventually it'll be in our hands in the end. Any other? Do I think Israel will bring in the Kurds? I don't know. I don't know about that. Some say that in Uzbekistan, that's where they say one of the tribes is one of the 12 tribes. So I don't know. It's a big disagreement there also if they're going, if whether they're going to be considered, whether tribes are coming back or not. Right? It's whatever. It's a big discrepancy about that. Some say they will, some say they won't. Do I believe the Kurds are going to come back? I don't know. I would think not, but I don't know. I would say like all these other lands, they're just like safeguarding it for until we take it over, right? That's true. I got to clean up all these places also, but get it back the way it should be. But whatever, it'll be taken care of when God wants it to. God wants it to. Any other questions? Did I answer 1 Samuel? No. I'll answer another time. All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Mark Chaim Koppen, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics for our fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkoffen@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, which are good